Hello, I'm Kimberly Kirkmeyer, Director of the California Department of Consumer Affairs, or DCA. Our thoughts are with all those impacted by the devastating Southern California fires. Know that we stand with you and are committed to empowering you with information to rebuild and recover. We know recovering from the fires is in the early stages, so we want to share information and best practices to help you as you begin to plan for recovery. I'm here with two experts on rebuilding after an emergency. Dave Fote, Registrar of the Contractor State License Board, and Rick Moore, Executive Officer of the Board for Professional Engineers, Land Surveyors, and Geologists. And we're here to share with you about resources for wildfire survivors and what steps you can take to protect yourself during the rebuilding process. So as we know, after a wildfire, survivors have a lot of information and decisions to consider. So Dave, with that, please inform us about what they should consider when taking that first step into rebuilding and recovery.
The first thing they should do is identify potential bidders for the rebuild. And they can go to the Contractor State License Board website, and there's a search function. It's called Find My Licensed Contractor, to find 3 contractors that can provide bids. And we recommend checking references and perhaps also securing an architect to draw plans for the rebuilding of the home.
Okay. Rick, what about in your area?
Well, with our licensees, there could be multiple different types of license types involved. There's geologists, surveyors, and engineers. Surveyors really serve the foundation for what the rest of the licensees and building departments rely upon by establishing and marking the property lines. And engineers can come along later, as Dave mentioned, along with architects to help design the buildings. So there's multiple different steps there.
Okay, great. And what are some of the most important things really that people need to know about either repair or rebuilding?
Well, I think one of the most important things to know about is to make sure that the contract they're entering into is descriptive of the work that's going to be performed. That's critical. The workers should have workers' compensation insurance for workers. We need to make sure that they're in compliance with any permitting requirements.
And one of the first things I would verify is they need to hire a land surveyor to help them out with marking those property lines, because at that point, everyone following down the process needs to have those property corners located so that they know where to design the new structure, where to build a new structure, for the inspectors to come in and verify it was built where it was supposed to be built. There's a number of different reasons there. So make sure you hire a licensed land surveyor. Make sure that the property corners are monumented and marked.
Okay. I could imagine that's really important for the individuals, and probably a lot of people don't know that.
They probably don't know.
Okay. So I have a question, Dave. This really comes up a lot in discussions that I have, and one of the questions is, how much do I have to give a contractor when they first come out? What does that payment process look like?
Yeah, we're real fortunate in California to have a payment restriction as it relates to a rebuild in a declared disaster area. So what's important to remember is the deposit cannot exceed $1,000, and any subsequent progress payments cannot exceed the value of work performed. And just to give you an example, if the contractor is asking for a progress payment at completion of the foundation, you don't pay until that foundation has been completed, and it's got to be equivalent to the value of that foundation.
Okay, so I shouldn't be giving them $50,000 right off the bat.
No, unfortunately, we've had a lot of consumer harm occur when contractors will attempt to get up to 70% of the contract price before performing any significant work. If they don't perform, that can cause financial harm to you, the consumer.
Okay. So there's so much information out there, and I can imagine these individuals in these impacted areas, there's probably signs posted, there's all of this information out there for them. What's the most useful information? Where can I get the best information?
Well, I would say from the survey and engineering and geologist perspective, they can always come to the board, verify the person is licensed when they say they're licensed, call the board to ask us if there's been any issues with their licensing history, but more so when they're talking about the local public agency, like the county or the city, Those are the permitting agencies, and those are the ones that should be able to answer many of their questions.
Okay. Dave, what about for your side?
Yeah, on the CSLB website, the most important thing to do is to click on the button. It's the button that says Disaster Help Center, and it has valuable tips on hiring a contractor, the right classification, how to protect yourself as a consumer, and have a satisfactory contracting experience.
So both of you keep talking about this word license and make sure the person's licensed. How important is it to have a license? Do you actually need a license when you're, these individuals that come up to me and say that they can provide this service for me? So are you saying they have to have a license?
Well, from the perspective of our licensees, for the most part, yes. Surveying, absolutely. From an engineering side, where they have to be concerned about the structural components of any new construction, they work alongside the contractor. And it actually, by being licensed, they've demonstrated a competency level that is meant to protect the public. So yes, they should be.
And Dave, your website, it has that information on the license, and you have to be licensed as well as a contractor?
Absolutely. And so anybody submitting a bid or advertising for construction services or entering into a contract is required to include their license number. We would encourage all consumers to verify that license number. It's critical because, as Rick said, they've met minimum experience requirements. You understand who you're dealing with. If they're listed on the personnel record, you can check to see if there's been any disclosable complaints. And for anyone that's watching this that isn't licensed, they should be aware that in a declared disaster area, it is a felony to contract without a license.
Oh, that's good to know. So you guys are out and checking as well to make sure people are licensed out there.
That's correct.
Okay. Is there anything that I haven't asked you? What are the top things you really want our listeners and our survivors of the fire? What do you want them to know? Anything that we haven't covered?
My advice is, regardless of what the person that you're thinking about hiring says, have a contract. You want to have a contract. It's meant to protect both you as the property owner and you as the licensee. Make sure that what the scope of services in there is spelled out so that you understand it. Ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions. If a competent licensee, they should be able to answer all the questions for you. And check. Ask for a check with multiple land surveyors or engineers. Compare prices. Ask for references. There are going to be many people that are going to approach you that are going to try to get services and get work from you that are not appropriate licensed and do not have your best interest in their mind with what they're trying to do. And that's very important.
So Dave, what are your top 3 things?
My top 3 things are, first of all, to take a thoughtful approach when looking to hire a contractor. Do not rush into it. I think checking references is critical. And just to repeat something I said earlier, maybe elaborate on that, and that is with the payment schedule, make sure that that work has been completed. Don't pay in advance of the work being performed. And I just want to add that for a rebuild, there's going to be permit fees that have to be paid. Don't pay the contractor for those permit fees unless you have verified the contractor has paid them. A better course would be to pay the permit fees directly to the city or county.
Okay. And then one thing that I think, Rick, you said, and Dave, I think you may have said it early, but that contract should be in writing, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely needs to be in writing and descriptive of the work that's going to be done, how much, and the time frame to complete the work and for how much.
Okay. All right. Those are important things. So thank you to Registrar Vo and Executive Officer Moore for joining us today and providing this valuable information. We hope you found the information helpful, and please remember, we are here with you as you begin to rebuild and recover. And as always, please stay safe.